Welcome to this week's Bible Topics discussion. We're glad you're with us today. Today we discuss the Magi, or wise men. We assume that there were three wise men because of the three gifts that were given, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, as stated in Matthew chapter 2, verse 11.
However, the Bible does not say there were only three wise men. There could have been many more. Tradition says that there were three and that their names were Gaspar or Casper, Melchior, and Balthazar or Balthazar. But since the Bible does not say, we have no way of knowing whether the tradition is accurate. It's a common misconception that the wise men visited Jesus at the stable on the night of his birth. In fact, the wise men came days, months, or possibly even years later. Matthew chapter 2, verse 11 says, "And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh."
We know that the Magi were wise men from the east, most likely Persia, or modern-day Iran. This means the wise men traveled 800 to 900 miles to see the Christ child. Most likely the Magi knew of the writings of the prophet Daniel, who in time past had been the chief of the court seers in Persia. Daniel chapter 9 verses 24 through 27 says, 70 weeks are decreed about your people and your holy city to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, and to atone for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal both vision and prophet, and to anoint the most holy place. Know therefore and understand that from the going out of the word to restore and build Jerusalem, to the coming of an anointed one, a prince, there shall be 7 weeks. And for 62 weeks it shall be built again with squares and moat, but in a troubled time. And after the 62 weeks, an anointed one shall be cut off, and shall have nothing. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Its end shall come with a flood, and to the end there shall be war. Desolations are decreed, and he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week, and for half of the week he shall put an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations shall come one who makes desolate until the decree end is poured out on the desolator.
Those verses include a prophecy which gives a timeline for the birth of the Messiah. Also, the Magi may have been aware of the prophecy of Balaam, who was from the town of Pethor on the Euphrates River near Persia. Numbers chapter 24 verse 17 says, "I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. It shall crush the forehead of Moab, and break down all the sons of Sheth." Balaam's prophecy specifically mentions a star coming out of Jacob.
The wise men were guided to look for the King of the Jews by a miraculous stellar event, the Star of Bethlehem, which they called his star. Matthew chapter 2 verse 2 tells us, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose, and have come to worship him." Matthew chapter 2 verses 4 through 8 says, "And assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, in Bethlehem of Judea. For so it is written by the prophet, And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, that I too may come and worship him. The wise men came to Jerusalem, and asked concerning the birth of Christ, and they were directed to Bethlehem. They followed God's guidance joyfully, as it is written in Matthew chapter 2, verse 10, which says, When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. When they arrived in Bethlehem, they gave costly gifts to Jesus and worshipped him. Then in Matthew 2, verse 12, we are told, And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. God warned them in a dream against returning to Herod. So in defiance of the king, they left Judea by another route.
Well, that's it for this week. Please like, comment, and share. If you have questions or suggestions for future topics, please let us know. So the Magi were men who read and believed God's word, sought Jesus, recognized the worth of Christ, humbled themselves to worship Jesus, and obeyed God rather than man. They were truly wise men. We can learn a lot from their actions. Would you like to be as wise as the Magi? God gives us away just as he gave the Magi away.
See you next week. Be blessed.